And it was like, I had like 12 missed calls from my dad. I'm like, oh boy. That's usually not great.
Thank you very much. Wow.
I feel personally vindicated because I've told you this many times, but I remember 5 years ago, like, oh, Donald Trump's so stupid. I was like, no, actually, Don's the smartest guy in the orbit and actually understands politics on a gut level way better than anybody else.
He's a very well thought out guy. He understands the policy. He gets into the details.
I want to be the first to congratulate our great, now I can say, Vice President-elect of the United States, J.D. Vance.
First question to you, Senator Vance, is your guy. That's what you put out on Twitter today. How do you do?
I thought it was a masterclass. I know they went after him so hard for a few months, and even some of the Republican sort of establishment class, but I've gotten to know him over the last few years. His life story, his background, everything was just, he's just an incredible guy. And, I heard you guys talking about sort of tenor and demeanor. Yeah. The reality is the tenor and demeanor that you saw tonight from J.D. Vance, that's actually who he is.
In the early days of Trump's political ascent, Vance was a no ally. A self-described conservative, Vance voiced skepticism about Trump's leadership style and policy proposals. In 2016, he called Trump noxious and expressed disdain for his rhetoric, which he saw as divisive and harmful to the very communities Vance sought to uplift in Hillbilly Elegy.
I'm a never Trump guy. I never liked him.
I can't stomach Trump. I think that he's noxious and is leading the white working class to a very dark place.
But he has the guts to admit when he is wrong.
But the senator says Trump's performance in office proved him wrong.
I was wrong, and so many were wrong about Donald Trump.
Yeah, he said some bad things about me, but that was before he knew me, and then he fell in love.
He became one of the former president's most outspoken defenders and a close friend of his son, Don Jr.
What are you hoping that he brings to this ticket?
The same energy he's brought Republicans in the United States Senate.
J.D.
At 39 years old, Vance would be one of the youngest vice presidents in American history.
Donald Trump Jr., Barron, and Eric Trump played a significant role in swaying their father toward Vance, primarily due to their admiration for Vance's political stances and ability to connect with the MAGA base. Don Jr. is said to have actively championed Vance, emphasizing his potential to energize the Republican base in Ohio. His support likely stemmed from shared views on issues like economic nationalism, immigration, and opposing establishment Republicans.
Politics, media, they're actually incredibly unimpressive. And it's sort of amazing. It's sort of what I love about what's going on right now when you have, my father, and you have, a Vivek, and you have a JD who, in all fairness, I think I should probably get a little credit for just kind of taking on the billionaire donor class that wanted their puppet VP. And
if only people knew how much credit you deserve for that.
So,
that was a heroic.
I don't ask for much, but I was like, I'm all in on that.
That story will never be written, but that was one of the great moments in any politics I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot of politics.
You definitely exerted. No, I exerted 10,000% of my political capital. I may get I may get a favor from my father in 2076. I used it all, but it was great after the debate
and it actually worked out. He turned out to be amazing.
Listen, if I go all in, it's usually I feel really strong. I don't go all in often. There's not a lot of things I'm sort of indifferent. I'll work around some of the bad stuff, right? This was one that was it was really important to me,
And I remember when I was being raised by my grandmother, when she didn't have enough money to turn on the heat some nights because Ohio gets pretty cold at night and because money was often very tight. And I believe, as a person who wants to be your next vice president, that we are a rich and prosperous enough country where every American, whether they're rich or poor, ought to be able to turn on their heat.
I've had a lot of these sort of Republican donor class people come up to me, which is really stupid of them, by the way, but they're like, Don, I was MFing you for 3 weeks about that decision because I really wanted XYZ, and then I'm like, you really shouldn't tell me that you were doing that behind my back. I appreciate the candor now, but I'm I don't know, I'm gonna remember that. But they're like, but you were right, and then and the only one that mattered, I wanted my father to be happy, but it was after the debate. My phone's blowing up in my pocket, and I figured it was press, or I'm doing the spin room for 2 hours after the debate, and doing all this. My phone keeps, I'm just turning off my phone,
I had a mother who struggled with opioid addiction and has gotten clean. I don't want people who are struggling with addiction to be deprived of their second chance because
talking to him about that, he's someone who understands that cycle of poverty and addiction. He broke through it. He's living the ultimate American dream. I mean, he got out of a household with addiction and poverty, goes into the Marine Corps, comes back, goes to Yale Law School, starts an incredible business, gets into politics, becomes a United States Senator. I mean, that's the American dream. My father and J.D. Vance want Americans, they want to give them the chance to thrive again, not barely survive. And it was like, I had like 12 missed calls from my dad. I'm like, oh boy. That's usually not great. And he just gets on the phone, he goes, Don, I did that for you, Don, but that was a 10. And that, like a huge win in Trump world is like a 6. And so when he was like, that was a 10, that's as close to a 10 as you're going to get. I was like, okay, we got it. But, it was watching him, even that first week, as the narrative, they were trying to crush this guy. They would have tried to crush anyone. I understand that. Yeah. But, they were trying to crush him. And I just watched him on the Sunday shows do 3 in a row, just absolutely dismantle the narrative. Because our problem on our side is like, they want to be loved by these people who literally hate their guts.
Oh, yeah.
We joke about the gulags, but they would gladly put any one of us in them if they could just snap their fingers and make it happen. And, it was watching that where JD didn't just take their, January 6th was an insurrection. Okay, it was an insurrection, but, it wasn't it's like, no, this is ridiculous. Like, what are you talking about? And just absolutely crush these people. And it's because no one's ever pushed back.
I know.
It's not that they're smart. It's like people want to get invited back on the show, so they concede so much ground. So, you're starting a negotiation with already less than you're even hoping to get. And it's like, well, why would you do that?
And he is a feisty guy, isn't he? I've said, go into the enemy camp. And the enemy camp is certain networks. And a lot of people don't like to, sir, do I have to do that? He just goes, okay. Which one? CNN, MSDNC? He'll say, all right, thank you very much. He actually looks fine. He's like the only guy I've ever seen. He really looks forward to it, and then he just goes in and absolutely obliterates them.
Dana, would you like to ask me questions and then let me answer them, or would you like to debate me on these topics? I noticed that when you had Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, you gave them multiple choice answers to the questions that you asked. I don't buy into the premise of what you're saying, Jake. You're imputing things, you're taking words out of context, you're taking 2 separate conversations and pretending that they were made at the exact same time. I mean, step back a little bit. Well, ask yourself a basic question about network integrity. But if you're going to interrupt me every single time that I open my mouth, then why am I even doing this? So please ask a question, and I'd ask you to be polite enough to let me answer. You guys seem to care more about Donald Trump's past than the future of the American people.
And he's been one of the first people to really break the mold on that and just sort of, not just accept the narrative blindly and push back. So it's been awesome to see. Well, he can explain himself, and for me, politics has not been like an upside business for us. It's not a business for us at all. It's cost us billions of dollars.
Yeah.
But I believe in this stuff, and so to know that there's also someone we have a bench. There's a future of the Republican Party. It's not like now it reverts back to Mitt Romney and whatever it may be. And that was fun. I'll see you guys later.
Come on. Don't you look at you look at me. You look at me.
I didn't know how Walz was going to get out of it because it was clear to me that he would do 2 things.
The debate, he means.
He would politely destroy Walz, and then the second thing, he would dispel all of these smears and slurs against him, that he was mean, that he was crazy, that he was not a nice person. He's a very pleasant person.
America First is alive and well, and seeing a Vivek and seeing some of these other guys come up there and now step out and just absolutely dismantle that establishment class day in and day out. You can just see truly impressive people actually on our side for a change, and I'm like, this is the way.
And I gotta say, I feel personally vindicated because I've told you this many times, but I remember 5 years ago, oh, Donald Trump's so stupid. I was like, no, actually, Don's the smartest guy in the orbit and actually understands politics on a gut level way better than anybody else in the whole
Yeah, you had a bad news cycle for that. I remember that. I was like, wow, that was pretty cool.
Well, it's true. It's true.
And they went after you pretty hard.
But I said that because it's true. And I think now it's very obvious that it's true. So congratulations. I think you've been vindicated, and I mean it. Anyway.
Say a couple of words.
Well, Mr. President, I appreciate you allowing me to join you on this incredible journey. I thank you for the trust that you placed in me. And I think that we just witnessed the greatest political comeback in the history of the United States of America. And under President Trump's leadership, we're never going to stop fighting for you, for your dreams, for the future of your children. And after the greatest political comeback in American history, we're going to lead the greatest economic comeback in American history under Donald Trump's leadership.
Thanks for watching. Have you been impressed with J.D. Vance's performance during his campaign? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more.